A lot of Freudian slips recently. Thomas Triber, ring announcer, announcing Dillian and Whyte as the baby snatcher as opposed to body snatcher. Was that deliberate? Are they trying to mess with Dillian's head, knowing that he's a hot-headed yard man? Could be worse, I guess. They could have called him a Jamaican baby father. Dillian have enough seed out there.
We are the best baby father in Jamaica.
Dillian wasn't too happy about it. My opinion was Thomas Triber deliberately did it. I don't believe you confuse baby with body that easily. I really don't. You've got one job to do, and that's to read out the boxers' names correctly. If he was reading from a cue card, should have went to Specsavers. A lot of the gifts that Moses currently possesses are due to his youth. I guarantee him, when he's in his mid-30s, being able to put together a knockout punch while he's moving backwards won't be so easy as doing it in his early 20s. Ali used to do that when he was young. You go watch that Ali was fighting with Foreman or Leon Spinks and see if he was doing that move. He wasn't. If they can get that shot against Alexander Usyk, they 100% need to take it. 100%. Because what a lot of people are not factoring in is youth brings something to the table that experience cannot bring. A lot of intangibles that come with youth do not come necessarily with experience. It is what it is. Certain things that Moses does well may not be in a boxing textbook. And let me tell you this now. You can train natural instincts out of people in art, sports, and all various pursuits of life. Why is everybody saying that Moses needs to fight every ranked contender and their dad, but he can't fight Usyk? I'm just struggling to make sense of that. He's ranked number one in one sanctioning body and very generously in the others. Regardless of how he's come by them high rankings, he's in position to fight for the title. The only argument, in my opinion, against him fighting for the title is Ajit Caballero and Joseph Parker, on resume, current form, are ahead of him in the queue. But that's going by what the sanctioning bodies say. The sanctioning bodies are not going to put the money behind these fights. That's the bottom line of it. But it looks like Turkey's repeated again. He's reiterated he wants Moses Itauma to fight Alexander Usyk. Usyk has got a 30-day extension after revealing he's got an injury. He wanted 90 days to fulfill his obligation against Joseph Parker, but he obviously wants more time to weigh up his options. The WBO are not prepared to give him that. Fair enough. He's 20 years of age. Frank needs to get him another fight. Doesn't have to be a big one. ASAP. They're talking about Jermaine Franklin and then put him forward to face the winner out of TKV and Fraser Clark. The boxing analysts, even the boxers, are shockingly bad at times. Duke McKenzie said that Moses has no head movement. And I've seen Moses move his head. I've even seen him exaggeratedly move his head in fights. But Duke said he's got no head movement. They keep saying we need to see him cracked with a big shot. If he's a precocious talent, he's not supposed to get cracked with big shots necessarily to prove he can take it.
Is it a flawed argument when heavyweights come on the scene and they're knocking everyone out, etc., and then people start saying, hang on, he's not being tested on the chin? If they can avoid getting hit on the chin.
Yeah.
But is there an argument as well? I spoke to Antonio Tarver after. He kind of just questioned that and said, can he take a punch? Do we need to be concerned about that now or let that come naturally?
Remember, the less punches you take, the more you can take a punch. It's like chopping down a tree. You can have a tree and hit it with an axe thousands of times and nothing happens. And then sooner or later, you don't know how far it's gone and then it goes down. The human chin is like that. The more you take, and once it snaps, that's it. You've got no punch resistance. So the fact that he takes so few punches means his chin will last longer. Look at fighters who had great chins in their early career. Later on, as they get older, they just start getting chinned all the time. But it's because they take too many punches.
And then the other thing is, we need to see him get taken rounds. Well, if you get taken rounds, well, these opponents who can take you rounds where others can't can also beat you on points. But they seem to think there's this perfect initiation. They want to see him get hit hard enough where he's not knocked out, but he's buzzed and he recovers. They want to see him get taken rounds, but not lose on points. But boxing doesn't work like that. The punch that you're talking, you want him to get cracked with and tested, can do neurological damage or knock somebody out. They're real punches. This is not a video game. And it's almost like They're tempted to ask Moses, why don't you let someone crack you so we can see? Why don't you let someone just take you round so we can see how you do? Like when James Tillis took Tyson 10 before Tyson fought for the title. Some of the sports writers had the fight a draw. Mike scored a flash knockdown.
I don't get paid for overtime. I'm here to fight.
Any suggestion of carrying opponents? The longer your opponent lingers around, they could catch you with something, bust up your eye. You see all that scar tissue Hrgovic has got around his eye? That's because he's not getting rid of people and he's getting hit too much. Your maintenance of your tools, your hands, your body, your neurological faculties. I shouldn't have to tell anybody how important it is to maintain over a long career, 10, 15 years. If David Adeleye doesn't learn his craft and attempts to fight back-to-back top 10 opposition, he's going to get himself in serious trouble. And you see all that, we need to see him take a punch, we need to see him go rounds. David Adeleye did all that, and he hasn't even won the British title yet. Learn your craft is what Moses Itauma needs to do. Not prove anything to anyone who's not coaching him or paying him.
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
No one
Can do it better.
Dillian and the weight loss, it looked good, but it wasn't functional at all in the ring. Had no impact on the fight. I don't like the way Dillian bailed without giving an explanation of what went wrong in there. There I was telling people this potentially could be a competitive fight, and I take accountability for that. It is what it is. I thought Moses would win anywhere between 9 and 11 rounds, but it depends how people want to break down the fight. Are you going to take all the credit from Moses because Dillian was woeful, or are you going to give Moses credit despite of what you thought of Dillian? Because Moses, bottom line, has knocked out Dempsey McKean, who was ranked when he fought him in one round, and he's knocked out Dillian Whyte, who wasn't ranked, in one round, and this has never happened to them. The fight was lost before a punch was thrown. When Dillian tried to get off that double jab and he tried to step in with it, I don't think Dillian was particularly slow, but Moses and his reaction time.
That is fast.
But there was a 17-year age gap. Dillian didn't land a punch. Didn't land one of them jabs. Moses, within 10, 15 seconds, landed 2 really good jabs from that southpaw stance.
I keep getting asked about young Moses Itauma fighting Alexander Usyk and fighting other big names. And my opinion is not someone who don't know boxing. My opinion is someone who has been there and won every single belt, won everything there is to win in boxing, and done very well. Boxing is a young man's game. Like I told Vladimir Klitschko when he was 37, boxing's a young man's game and he waits for nobody. So here's the thing, you've heard it here first. Moses Itauma will wreck all them old men out of the division. Usyk, AJ, Miller, whoever there is who's old, Zhang, fucking whoever else there is, Luis Ortiz, all these big names of the past are all a spent force. And even the world champion now, if they took my belts and give them to Usyk, Moses will wreck him.
So right, now, Moses can just walk through the whole weight class. That's not what he said in the build-up to this fight.
Make no mistakes, Dillian Whyte is a massive puncher. It's a head and body. I know he's taking it very serious. I'm speaking to Ty Mitchell, who's in training camp with him. Looking forward to the fight. You know, it's a big step up for Moses because he hasn't really fought anybody on Dillian's level. The old Dillian was a couple of years ago. It's going to be interesting to see how much that Dillian Whyte has left. And I think it does have the potential to do what Martin McCauley did to Jared Anderson.
But we know Tyson Fury's a fruitcake, but he recently retracted his statement that he was going to come back. It looks like he remembered he told Vlad that this is a young man's game when he took them 3 straps off him. And you can get them Larry Holmes, Ray Mercer moments, Bernard Hopkins versus Pavlik, Carl Thompson versus David Hay. But one thing Fury was right about, it is generally a young man's game. The argument against what Fury is saying, though, is arguably Usyk is getting better, even at 37, 38, however old he is. Although I do believe Moses is a live threat to Alexander Usyk. I do believe that.
What they put up there, the fans, it was like 70% to 30% of who they think's going to win.
What, 70% Itauma,
Yeah.
Dillian fighting out of a slight crouch. Can Dillian get outside? Oh, right hand from Itauma. Dillian's going to have issues with that head movement, man. Dillian needs to be careful early, man. Oh, look at that. Dillian look like an old man with a foot speed. Oh, foot speed gap. Hand speed gap. This could be problems. Southpaw stance as well. Oh, look, he's got the range control on Dillian. Dillian biting on his feints. But Dillian took evasive action there. Right hand from Moses. Early days, though. Early days. Dillian keeping that cross arm bar.
Trying to block them uppercuts that he's known to get hit by.
Right hand. Oh.
It's going from head to body. Straight lefts to the body, then going back up top seamlessly.
Oh, Dillian, his legs are gone, man.
Damn, Dillian. And he do look actually slow.
Oh, that hurt Dillian. Dillian's hurt.
Uh-oh.
First round. Nailing him. First round. You can stop this one. No, Dillian, it's over, brother. Dillian, it's over.
I noticed that Dean Whyte, Dillian's brother, not his friend, his brother, was around the setup for this fight. And he handled a lot of the media during the build-up and post-fight. Dillian was obviously reluctant to do media. And in hindsight, most of you were right. Dillian didn't want to do media. He was reluctant to do media because he didn't want to try and fake confidence, cockiness, because he wasn't sure he could win. He got into top shape. Well, when I say he got into top shape, he lost the weight, he worked hard and got the weight down, and he was hoping that something would click and he would find that fighting spirit, but it never manifested. It didn't happen. The old Dillian used to talk shit to his opponents, but the fire is not burning. It's not burning. Dillian is a 37-year-old dude who by all accounts has had a tough life. After a time,
I just want to chill.
Frank Warren, old veteran promoter, knows there's people like me and you who want to see the event live. We don't want to watch the recording half an hour later. So he puts it on pay-per-view. A jaded contender who wasn't ranked. And Moses Itauma, who's only had 13 fights or so. There was a few belts on the line, but none of them of which I recognised. I'm not angry at Dillian. I'm not angry at Frank. I wanted to see the fight. A lot of people may have different takes on that. I think they got mugged off. That was one of the worst performances from a British fighter on a British pay-per-view by Dillian. Totally out of his depth. Moses, his job is to be the opportunist. His concern isn't if your punch resistance is deteriorating or you're old or you can't find a fire in your belly. That's not his concern. His concern is to exploit all of that and put on the display he put on. That was one of the best ring performances I've seen from any British fighter. It was one of the best I've ever seen. I've seen skills from a British heavyweight that I haven't seen some of the top American heavyweights do. That's how good it was. His skill set, his natural skill set, is just as good as a prime Nassim Hamed, or when I used to watch the young Joe Calzaghe on ITV against the likes of Mark Delaney and Stephen Wilson. I'm talking about watching a potential great British fighter in real time. And I'm fully aware that there are harder tests ahead. I'm fully aware of that. And I'm fully aware there's going to be fights where he can't just waltz through the competition like that. I'm fully aware of that. This ain't the first day breaking down boxing for me. I was talking to you guys about Pele Reid. Most of you don't know Pele Reid and how good he looked until he ran into Julius Francis. Had a similar record to Moses, a British heavyweight. Knocked out Vitaly Klitschko as a kickboxer. He was also promoted by Frank Warren. I also made that series during lockdown when matching a prospect goes wrong. And there's still time to take a L before he even gets to a title fight. Yeah, there's time. There's time.
Hey, yo, Black, it's time, word. It's time, man.
But I'm going to allow myself to get caught up in the hype. I'm going to allow myself because I enjoy watching this kid go to work. One of the best boxers to watch. One of the best. Power, speed, skills, great punch picker, offense, defense, counter punching, you name it, he does it.
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
No one
Can do it better.
I predicted Filip Hrgovic to stop David Adeleye. Now, it went the distance, but it was a wide points decision. David Adeleye, in my opinion, lost to a journeyman named Sokolowski a few years back. He was stopped by Fabio Wardley. He was outboxed by the unheralded but talented Jamie TKV and was bailed out by Frank Warren and Frank Warren's muscle and Frank Warren's machine with a win that should have been a disqualification. Isn't nobody seeing that the matchup between David Adeleye and Filip Hrgovic was as random as anything? In my opinion, more random than if Itauma was to challenge Usyk for the straps. David was supposed to rematch TKV for the British title, but all of a sudden, he's challenging a ranked contender. Nobody complained about David fighting Hrgovic, who had way more experience than him. Nobody. Not the media, none of you fans, none of you. Show me where Adeleye was ranked in the top 15. But you're telling me that Moses can't fight Usyk. Well, what qualified Adeleye to fight Hrgovic? Yeah, he landed a jab here and a couple of left hooks. And the 8th was a very entertaining round, but aside from that, it was one-sided as anything. Now, I'm saying that to say this. It wasn't a bad loss for Adeleye. He can learn from that. But if you're going to say one shouldn't fight because he's not ready, he's not primed, the same should apply to David Adeleye. There's more deserving ranked contenders who should be fighting Hrgovic to get their shot as shaking it up with the top boys, climbing up the ladder. Got to be consistent. This was a classic case of the Saudi bag over perhaps common sense. David, rightly, because we all should count our blessings, was counting his blessings he didn't get hurt badly in the fight. But he took a lot of punches. And Adam Booth tried to do the drill sergeant thing. You're behind. You've got to go out there and throw punches. And you've got to train him to throw punches. But you look at Adeleye's 2 fights since he's been training with Adam Booth. Yes, one was a first round knockout over Solomon Dakers. David doesn't throw a lot of punches. A lot of Adam Booth fighters don't throw a lot of punches. They like jumping in with single shots and trying to knock you out. Basically, he was sent into a fight without the right tools for the job. The right trainer, perhaps. You know, when you're prepping a fighter, you don't just study the fighter. You don't just study tape. You study his trainer. Abe Sanchez likes his fighters to throw punches, and lots of them. Hrgovic walks straight to Adeleye, knowing full well, as long as his chin holds up, he'll outpunch this guy, outwork him. And he did. The older guy outworked the younger guy. Adeleye has to take accountability, but so did Frank Warren for the matchmaking, and so does Adam Booth for the training. But it wasn't that bad a loss because Adeleye showed a lot of heart. We'll see how he bounces back. People like talking about fighters need more time before they step up. Well, how come no one was saying nothing about this one here? Why did they pull him out of the TKV fight? For what reason? People like talking about fighters who have no defense, about their lack of head movement. Well, how about not throwing enough punches to keep your opponent off you? Volunteering to go back to the ropes to let your opponent just open up over 10 rounds. He took a lot of punches. Yeah? When Dillian was Adeleye's age, he wasn't volunteering for the ropes, taking beatings like that. You will end up in worse neurological health than Dillian by the time you're his age if you keep doing that. And that's not just to Adeleye, that's to any boxer. What I did like was when it looked like it was falling apart for Adeleye, and he growled at Hrgovic and tried to hype himself up, and Hrgovic caught him with a right hand, put him over. He got back up when I thought the fight was basically over and caught Hrgovic with his best punch of the fight, that left hook. That was pretty impressive. But he needs to work on his craft. If they keep him at this level and he throws so few punches, he's leaving himself exposed to get hurt badly sitting on the ropes like that, volunteering to get pounded on.
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
No one
Can do it better.
Hayato Sutsumi is now 8-0. Now he's either going to fight at 130 or 135 if he gets to the champion stage. But people have paid tickets, they've paid pay-per-view to watch a boxing event. And the running time should reflect the fighter's accomplishments and hierarchy. And there's no way you push this guy here over Ray Ford, former champion. 1 loss on his record. And Ray Ford's opponent was also better than the Japanese super featherweight. It's too indulgent, and it broke up the flow of the card. I saw people on Twitter saying the same thing. What was this guy doing so high up on the bill? Relegated Ford and Nova to the prelims. And you're trying to sell to an American audience, Turkey? Not good. If this was in Britain, he wouldn't have been able to pull that off. No way. Until that Japanese dude fights a serious opponent, nobody's checking for him like that. He looks strong, he looks fit, he put his punches together okay, but there was nothing exceptional about this guy. Except Turkey wants to promote him.
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
No one
Can do it better.
Anthony Jump Up Kakache piped up after he saw Ray Ford outpoint Abraham Nova on the undercard, saying he wants to fight Ray Ford. Anthony was the initial opponent. He pulled out with an injury. Now, for me personally, it's hard to know what to believe from Anthony Kakache because he didn't withdraw from the Sugar Nunes fight due to injury. He gave up the belt because he didn't fancy his chances, and he took what they say was a more lucrative fight against Lee Wood for no title. Now, Ray was successful on Saturday, unanimously outpointing Abraham Nova. The question now is, why should he bother with Anthony Kakache? After 3 wins on the bounce since moving up from feather, he needs to be getting on to Eddie Hearn about getting him a title shot. Kakache had his shot to fight Ray Ford, but he's piped up now. I don't think he's all that. I can beat him. And he did the same thing after Nunes won the title, telling Eddie Hearn on social media he wants all the smoke, he's not all that, when he relinquished his belt not to fight this guy. Why should anyone take him serious at the moment? As for Ray Ford, he wants all the smoke. He says Nunes will be easy, IBF title. O'Shaquie Foster, WBC, he says that will be easy. Sullivan said he's ranked number 3 and he'll move up higher. He's very close to a shot. He also said Lamont Roach would be easy. So there's 2 different levels here. One isn't cherry picking. One isn't weighing up risk reward as much as the other. I think the change of opponent, not being able to get Nunes in the ring or a title shot, he looked a bit jaded and sounded a little bitter in the build-up. Perhaps he felt a little flat. First fight on the card, perhaps the arena was near empty. He may have found it a little hard to get up for Abraham Nova, who was a replacement, but he did what he had to do. His hand speed was superior to Nova's, punches more compact, landed the harder punches, hurt Nova a couple of times with some headshots, didn't go to the body enough for me. Nova had his moments, but Ray won a wide decision. A lot of people said he didn't look good, but he looked okay to me, and he's still on course for a title shot. Ray's got to work on his game. Nova roughed him up quite a bit in there and had him backed up. Ray coped with it and span off the ropes very nicely and came back with counters very well. But there are actually things I think Kakache could work on and make this fight a lot more difficult than I originally perceived it. But like I said, why would Ray be looking for Kakache right now? Nick Bull was in a close one against the Australian Sam Goodman. The scores perhaps shouldn't have been as wide. Goodman at stages found Nick easy to outbox. Nick started to assert himself and started to pull back the deficit a little, but he retained his belt. He looked clumsy in there at times. I wouldn't go as far to say robbery, but Brittinoli having him as the only male world champion and having the Frank Warren machine behind him may have saved his title. And he himself said he wants to unify belts now. He has to unify straps. It would be a shame if Nick lost without attempting to unify, because he's increasingly looking more and more beatable, and it would be a shame to lose the belt without trying to unify. He was getting hit by 3-4 jabs at a time, getting his head pinged about, lunging, missing. Goodman made an impression on Turkey, and Turkey wants him back, so good on him.
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
No one
Can do it better.
What